and share my screen. Oh, hold on a second. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Where am I? Where's my screen? All right, there we go. All right, so the uget problem. Let me get that URL real quick. So for uget. Okay, so first let's read the problem. Understand what we're doing. So I'm worried about losing the White Hat Manifesto again as a backup. Can you serve up White Hat Manifesto on your own server so others can download it? Start your own web server and serve it at 127001 whitehatmanifesto.txt and then run uget to retrieve the flag. So what is this asking us to do? Like what is, in just plain English, what do we need to do? And then while we're doing that, I'll make a directory. Uget. So what are we doing in this problem? What is the approach?
Have to set up a web server first.
Okay, we have a web server available. We have Apache on our machine, so we can run Apache. I do sudo systemctl start Apache 2. All right, that's great. So Apache 2 is running right now. And if I go to localhost, we'll get that default page. All right, so I have a web server running. Now, what's the problem asking me? So I'm worried about losing the White Hat Manifesto again. As a backup, can you serve up whitehatmanifesto.txt? Let me download this as well. On your own server so that others can download it. Serve it up at /whitehatmanifesto. So what it want? Go ahead.
The White Hat Manifesto to the server, right?
Yep. They want White Hat Manifesto and they want it to be available at 127001 /White Hat Manifesto. Do we agree? Does anybody disagree with that? So I have White Hat Manifesto right there. All right, so what do I need to do to serve it up at that location? Because the end location, it was what I want is to be able to go to HTTP 127.0.0.1 /whitehatmanifesto.txt, and I want to get the White Hat Manifesto. So right now it's not working. So right now, we spoke earlier about how web servers are set up and that kind of that structure of a web server, right? Where is my web server looking to serve up files? Like what directory?
In the var directory.
Yes, in var, but where in var? It's not
www HTML.
Right. So if I go to pwd, and if I sudo, and let's go to var www HTML. And in here, right here, I have this index engine X, and then my test subdirectory. So I don't have White Hat Manifesto. So if I want to serve up White Hat Manifesto at that location, what I can do is copy from Frank get problem White Hat Manifesto. And if I copy that here and then try this again, well, now it's served up, right? Because this slash, if you think about this slash, so like on our, on your Linux server, if you cd to slash, that is the location, that's the root of your entire file system. Every file in your file system is underneath this slash location, right? Everything in your file system comes underneath this slash location. If I want to go to bin, it's cd to bin. But if I pwd, I'm in slash bin. On this web server, this slash is the web directory, the root for the web server. And the root for the web server is var www html. So any file that I want to get to under here, like I want to get to this white hat manifesto, it's slash white hat manifesto, or right? You get what I'm saying? This var www html in my URL of 127.0.0.1 slash, this equals var www html. And white hat manifesto is located at var www html white hat manifesto. You know what I'm saying? Additionally, I'm going to show you something. I think I mentioned it briefly, that Python, you can use Python to be a web server. So for right now, so what I'm going to do, let me stop. I'll stop Apache. So now if I go here and I refresh this, yeah, unable to connect, the web server is down. I've stopped the web server. And if I cd to get, Python has a module. So if I do Python 3, Python has a way where you can, so you know how we've been importing modules, like import sys, import requests, that kind of thing? You can actually run modules from the command line. Python 3, if you do a -m, it'll allow you to run a module on the command line. And Python has a module called http.server. And if we run this on the command line and provide a port, so if I say Python 3 and HTTP server 80, you see now Python is serving up on this. Remember I said 000 is my local machine? Serving up on this local machine on port 80. So now if I were to go here and do that again, now it's serving again, because now it's being served by Python. And so now if I do just slash, now you see I'm getting the what's in this content, uget and w white hat manifesto, because Python is running from this directory. And so if we control C, the contents of that directory are this uget and white hat manifesto. So that's what's available to be served up when I execute Python, anything in this directory that I'm currently in. So you're gonna find this useful when you start trying to exploit boxes. You're gonna wanna transfer something over. One of the easiest ways to transfer things over is HTTP. You go to wherever directory that you want, that file that you want to serve up and to transfer to that machine you're exploiting. You'll fire up your Python server, and then you can just view that page. So if I wanted to, and if I went to here, and I said, let's make another directory, scrap, you need to scrap. And now if I did wget http 127.0.0.1 slash white hat manifesto.txt. So I'm just going to wget that file. I'm in a different directory. And now if I just do that, it'll just give me that file as well. Right. So now I have that file. So if this was a different box, I would wget it after I'd served it up. So now to just solve this problem, now that we have this running, we can just execute that uget executable. So if I then first make it executable and then run uget, there's my flag. So who asked about uget? I forgot who just asked this question.
Oh, that was me.
And so, where were you running into issues? Was it an issue of like not knowing how to start a web server, or was it something about where to put the file? Like, just what was the part of this problem that you were having issues with?
It was the very beginning, starting the web server. We weren't sure how to start up the Apache.
Okay, so one, you're going to have several services on your Kali machine, your system services. And there's two ways that you can stop those machines. There's two commands that will give you control of them. One is system control, system CTL, and then you say start or stop or whatever, and then say Apache 2, and this will start or stop it or whatever. And then let me just, I need to be root to do that, so we'll do that. But there's also a second one. And the way you provide options to these are backwards. So with system control, you provide the action first, then the service name. With this service utility, you provide the service that you're starting, and then the action that you want to do. So if I said Apache 2.stop, and that'll stop it. But so system CTL is the newer one, and is the one that like the Linux community is recommending people use going forward. I don't know that services has already, if it's already been deprecated or if it will be in the future, but like system CTL is like the new and improved version. But service does have this one thing that I really like that's not available, there's not an easy way to do it in system CTL. And that's with service. If I just want to see all the services that are available and their current status, I can do service --status all, and it'll list everything that's available for all the services that are available. And if you look, anything with a dash is not running, and anything with a plus is currently running. So right now I have Apache 2 not running because I just stopped it. Cron is running. All these other services, right? My networking is running. Postgres is running. And then with this, you can, one, look to see what's installed and then easily know if it's running or not already. There's a way to do this with system CTL, but it's not just as simple as just that command status -all. But with that said, you'll probably see me most of the time when I'm stopping and starting services, actually using system CTL to stop and start them. So system CTL start, and then the name of the service Apache 2.
Frank, is there a way I could see what port all of those services were running on?
Yes, if you want to know the port of what, so if a service is running and you want to know which port it's running on, that's when you come back to netstat that we were doing earlier. So like this one my Apache just failed for some reason. So if I do netstat-pant, this will display all the services that are currently running. Oh, and this is why Apache failed. I have that Python 3 web server running on port 80. Only one service can run on a port at a time. So right now, port 80 has been claimed by Python 3. So when I try to start Apache 2, it couldn't, my Apache is bound to port 80. When it tried to start listening on port 80, something was already listening, and so it failed. So if I go back here and I kill this Python 3 server, and then come back to, where did it go? Yeah, there we go. And come back to here. And now if I try to start Apache a second time, this should work. And that worked, and we can just check that with netstat-pant, and this will show me everything that's running. And now if we look at port 80, we'll see it's Apache 2 running now, not Python 3 anymore. Like before it was Python 3, but now it is Apache 2. All right. With that, was there any other problems that people found troublesome?
So I don't think it was troublesome, but that's secure by nature. Could you show us the intended way to do it? Because we just cheated by copy pasting.
Okay, so the intended way to do it, that's the one where you're supposed to do SCP. So let me share my screen. If we go here, secure by nature. Okay, someone has stolen my copy of the White Hat Manifesto, blah, 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 blah. Can you replace it? To complete this task, copy an original version of White Hat Manifesto onto the shell server over the empty placeholder, blah, blah, blah. And it's located at this location. Oh, I don't know if I still have my account. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to kind of demonstrate on my own machine, and let you guys can do it on that machine, because I don't remember my password for my CyberLab. I have it in my password manager, and I don't feel like digging it up. So let's just do this. So right now I have SSH running, and I have that Kali user set up for the shush problem. And so if I look in, if I cd to the Kali user's home directory, right? We do an ls, there's nothing, there's just the default directories here, right? We agree? This is just, I'm in home Kali, ls, just some directories. But if I now go back to where I had that White Hat Manifesto, what I'm gonna do, so SSH we know is like the remote desktop, the remote terminal way of getting a shell on Linux machines. As part of the SSH suite, there are other commands available. I mentioned this morning there's SCP and there's also an SFTP. Now SCP is just secure copy. And instead of just copying from one directory to another directory on your local machine, SCP allows you to copy from your local machine to a remote machine or vice versa. So what I'm gonna do instead, I'm going to just do SCP, and I'll give it the source file, so White Hat Manifesto, and then I'm going to give it where I'm copying it to. And I'm just gonna say, but I have to connect, right? So I have to say Kali at demo, which is this machine. Then I give it a colon and the path where I want to copy the path to, copy the file to. And of course, that has to be a path that the user that I'm logging in as, because right now I'm logging in as this user Kali. So just really quickly, before we do anything, just control. I would just SSH as Kali at demo, right? So say, do I want to trust that fingerprint? Yes, it's going to ask me for Kali's password. And here I go. Now I'm logged into the machine as Kali, right? Kali at demo. And if I exit, I can do the same with using a similar syntax. I can say SCP, right? Secure copy, White Hat Manifesto as Kali at demo, right? Username at the machine, colon, and then the path that I'm going to copy it to. And so I'm just going to copy it to the Kali user's home folder, home Kali. I'll get prompted for a password. And boom, it was copied over. And so since this was just my local machine, now if I then look in Kali's home directory, is my White Hat Manifesto. So what this problem was asking you to do with the secure shell on CyberLab, that's the remote machine. You downloaded, you got a copy of the White Hat Manifesto from wherever you got a copy from, and then you use SCP to copy it to that path that was specified in the problem. So that path is a directory. In that path, currently there's a version of the White Hat Manifesto that's incorrect. You just need to override it with a good copy. And it would be very similar to what I just did.
I agree that the syntax for SCP is a little weird.
Yeah, because but if you just think about it as like the same way that you're copying a file over and you have to give what's my source file and then what's my destination, what is my destination path, or where am I moving this file, where am I copying this file to? But now, since you're copying it to a remote location, you have to say, I'm copying it, what's the server, and who's the user that I'm connecting to the server with, right? That there's just a little bit of extra information, but it's essentially the same, similar syntax to CP. I'll say that. Not the same, but similar.
I have a question, Frank.
Okay.
With the, what's the major difference that I should know about between Apache and Python server? It seems like the Python one's kind of nifty because I can just place it anywhere and just have that as my web root.
Okay. So we're going to get into this. I've been saying that a lot today. We're going to get into this more. But Apache, every web server, so the Apache web server, right? It speaks, let's double back. On the client side, in your browser, right? If you want to provide functionality, right? Some kind of programming to be done on the front end, on the client side, you're going to use JavaScript. Your browser speaks JavaScript. On the back end, you may want to do something programmatically as well. And so your web server would need to speak a particular language, right? And there's different languages that are used on the back end. There's JavaScript, there's Python, there's Ruby, there's Go, and a popular one is PHP. Your Apache has a module that allows it to speak PHP like by default, pretty much. Like it's pretty much, if you have Apache set up, like PHP is pretty much installed by default. And so what that allows you to do is if I have a file that contains PHP code, I can put that in my web directory root. And when I browse to that file, Apache will then execute that PHP code and then send the output of that PHP code as the HTML that gets sent to the client. So if in my PHP code, I had some way of saying, like get today's date and whatever, right? Get today's date. When you go to that file, Apache, when you make that request to that file, Apache will run PHP. PHP will do what it does to get the date, and then output that to Apache, and Apache will take that output and send it to the client's browser that requested it. So that's called server-side programming. And like I said, there's plenty of languages, Java, C# that do all of these things. And what they do is they execute some kind of logic on the server side, and then the output of that logic is then sent to the client. Now, Python, when you run Python, the only thing Python speaks is Python. So if I were to, and let me just share my screen really quickly, one more time. And do I have anything in? Okay, so let's just do this. CD to var www.html. And in here, I'm going to make let's just vim hello.php. And I'm just going to put in PHP. And what this is going to say is echo H1 hi there. And escape, let's write that. And then let me also and here we'll just do the H1 Okay. So now with that, let me start Apache. If I come here and I go to, what did I call that file? So I have hello PHP and hello there HTML. So if I go to hello there.html.
No. And hello.
You have missing an O. No, in the URL. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. So hello there from HTML. And if I look at my page source, this is exactly what I typed into the file, right? Just the contents of the file have been sent to me. But now if I go to hello.php, like remember in that PHP file, I put those special tags that said PHP or whatever, what have you. All right, I'm getting that high there, but if I go to view page source, you see all I have here is just this. But if we actually look at the file, cat hello.php, right, there's all this. And all it's giving me is just this. Because Apache said, oh, this is PHP. I know what to do with this. I'm gonna run this PHP. This echo is essentially like print, right? And so the output of this was just the print of this. And then this was what was sent over to the client. Just that. None of the other type. Everything else was done server side. But now if I were to stop Apache 2 and I do Python 3 localhost 80. What did I do? -m HTTP server. Don't need localhost. I just need 80. Now I'm serving this up here. And if from here, if I refresh this in Python, you see Python doesn't know what to do with this. So it's just saying, okay, I don't speak PHP. I'll just let you download this, right? It's just prompting me to download it. And if I then go to hello_there.html, this is just plain HTML. Python's like, okay, I'm behaving as a web server. I can serve up HTML. Here's the content of the HTML. So you'll be in situations where you want to download a PHP file, but more often you'll be in situations where you want to execute that PHP file. And you need to just keep in mind, am I downloading this or am I executing this? And then we'll get into this deeper when we get into PWK. But that's a good thing to bring up. That's a difference between how these two things work.
So I guess if there's the rule of thumb is Apache, if I want to use Apache, I don't want to serve up PHP. It has trouble doing that. And I guess the same thing with Python, has trouble serving up Python.
So I would see, I wouldn't use, I know what you're saying, I know what you're getting at, but I wouldn't use that language, right? Because if I'm, like if I start up, Apache and I go to hello.php, right? It's serving, it serves it up. This is what, it's made it available. It's done what it's supposed to do. If I want to grab the file, if I want access to that file, right? And I'm running, and it's a PHP file. If I want to download that PHP file, Apache will run the file, will not let you download it, right? If I want to download the PHP file, I want to use something that's not going to execute the PHP, that's just going to make the file available to me. And that's what Python will do. Python will make the file available to you and won't execute the file because it doesn't speak PHP.
I think it'll become more apparent when you make mistakes with it.
Yeah, this will come up, and you will for sure you're gonna bang your head against this, and then when we say remember what we told you, and you're gonna be like, oh my God, why'd you let us waste all that time? It's definitely going to happen. So Just file that away. And if you're ever having problems with something when you're working with PHP, dig that up. With that said, are there any other questions?
So currently, your Apache server is running to read the PHP, right?
Yes, your Apache server will execute the PHP.
Gotcha.
Will execute it. So it will do whatever the PHP file contains commands, like the same way like your Python scripts contain instructions for Python. Your PHP file contains instructions for Apache. Apache will execute those instructions instead of making that file available to download or whatever. All right, so with that said, I'm going to open back up the breakout rooms and bring you back when we're